And we're back on another episode of Loathsome Things, a horror movie podcast in which we discuss the finer elements of horror. We break it down to on a granular level. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
My name is John.
Toenails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's cliptastic.
Yes.
My name is John, and my co-host here is Josh. Josh, how are you doing, sir?
Virginia!
Oh.
Virginia! I'm doing quite well, John. I've been trying to figure out exactly what musical instruments were used in the soundtrack of this movie. I think I've got it down to organ, xylophone, and accordion.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Various pieces of very bad-sounding metal being struck.
Yes. Perhaps a harpsichord? I don't know.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack is very weird. The movie is very weird.
The movie is very weird, but especially the soundtrack. I love the fact that the exact same song that they play, like it'll fade in on any scene. It doesn't matter if it's like a happy scene where people are being sexual towards one another, or if it's a terrifying scene where people's arms are being ripped off.
Ding, ding,
ding,
ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding, ding, ding.
That's what I love about movies like this. It's like they just pick some random piece of music and then just play it whenever they feel like it.
Yes, yes. Have you ever seen the British TV show Doc Martin?
Oh, a little bit. A couple episodes.
So that one does the same thing. It has one piece of music that it plays throughout the whole show, but the speed at which it plays, or even like major key, minor key, like they'll switch it around to fit the mood. Where like it'll be like the if it's a sad thing, and dun 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 if it's a happy thing. And this one doesn't bother with switching it up. It's just the same little MIDI file for every bit.
Yeah, it's all you get.
Yeah.
And by the way, what we're talking about is Tombs of the Blind Dead,
a
1971 classic by the director known as Amando de Ossorio.
Amando de Ossorio.
A Spanish production shot in part in Portugal. It is, I guess, a kind of a riff on zombie and vampire movie?
Yeah, it's got the gothic, classic gothic elements with obviously a touch of that brand new cutting edge George Romero zombie business, and then also I don't know, a little bit. It's got some it's its own thing. It really is.
Yeah, it's definitely its own thing. It's I mean, I don't know a whole lot about Spanish culture. I certainly don't know any more about Spanish culture in the early 70s.
Oh,
so maybe a lot of what's going on there is reflective of how cheesy Spain apparently was in the 70s. Because certainly the rest of the planet was pretty damn cheesy.
Oh yeah, no. If you played this movie on mute and didn't listen to it at all, and then asked someone, "Now, would you believe me if this was filmed in early 1970s Europe?" The answer to that would be, "Yeah, I would believe that."
Yeah, that's pretty much what I copped the moment I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy movie. A friend of mine had recommended this movie because I was doing all those writing up all of those Hellraiser movies.
Yeah.
Watched all of them, all 10 of them on my my Substack page, and then I had made suggestions like, what else should I cover? And this guy, who's like a big movie guy, was like, how about the Tombs of the Blind Dead series? And I'm like, I don't know what they are.
Never heard of her.
So of course, when I looked it up, I was like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I've seen the first 3. There's Tombs of the Blind Dead. There's Return of the Blind Dead. There's The Ghost Galleon, which is amazing. And The Ghost Galleon is something else. And then Night of the Seagulls, which I have not seen yet.
Oh, The Night of Jonathan Livingston Seagulls.
Oh, shit. It's yeah, I really love this movie. I mean, I've seen it like 5 times already now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a ridiculous write-up on it that was way longer than it needed to be, just because that's how I felt at the time about it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. What were you going to say?
I've also watched it several times. I was mentioning before we started recording that I watched it again right before it because I was like, all right, I'm recording in 2 hours. I don't feel like I understand what's happening in this movie, so I went ahead and watched it again. I still don't understand what's happening. I think it's a wee sparse on story, because characters just kind of show up and then disappear. Even the way that people make their exits in this movie is so weird.
Yeah, people are just suddenly there and suddenly gone.
Like it never happened.
There's no exposition as to why certain things happen. I mean, there's a scene where some characters go to research something, but there's no explanation as to how they came across this guy, or they're just suddenly there. They do it in all the movies. It's great.
Yeah.
The director also made porn, which for anyone who watches this movie is probably not surprised.
Oh man, yeah. It's just a movie full of sex havers.
God, like rape, not a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and it really tries to blur that rape line. Like, oh, it's bad. Yeah. So content warning: rape, and just a tiny bit of cruelty to animals.
Yeah. A hint at some baby murder.
Yeah.
Depending on what version you watch, the version that I've seen is the American cut. The original cut apparently has full-on rape scenes and full-on baby murders, which I don't need to see that.
Oh, God.
I'm good. Yeah.
I didn't know about the baby murders. I mean, there's you saw him rape her in the graveyard, right? When you did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's more than that?
I guess it's just that one rape. It's just the one rape.
Just the one rape. Where afterwards they hang out a little. It's not good.
He's like, cigarette?
Yeah. Here, would you like a pull from my butt-warm flask of mystery liquor?
I'm sure his genitals smell just fine.
Oh, man.
Good old Pedro.
Oh, Pedro. Why? Your father is so sad.
Every one of these movies, at least the first 3, have these weird characters that serve no purpose other than to just be strange.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
like
go ahead.
The mortician's assistant? Oh my God.
I love that guy. Easily my favorite part of this movie.
Yes.
He's got big Coffin Joe energy.
Yes, he does. Coffin Juan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. So, woo. Yeah,
yeah.
It's something else. Like, do you want to dig into it, or is there anything else you wanted to mention first?
The movie stars Lone Fleming, who as Betty, and this was part of the first half of her acting career. She took a 30-year hiatus from acting, and then over the last decade, her career's picked back up, and she's been in a ton of horror movies and short films.
Oh, I thought you meant first half as in she made this, and then she made another one.
No, she's pretty prolific, and actually a lot of these actors are very prolific in Spanish and Italian cinema. They were like in the background of tons of westerns and weird post-westerns and TV shows. Gonna see some Zorro popping up here and there in their credits. It's awesome.
Wow. They were in a bunch of spaghetti-o westerns.
Yes. Oh, God.
Those were the cheaper ones.
Yeah, Chef Boyardone's.
My God.
So yeah, let's dig in.
All right, let's dig in. Oh my God. The setting, by the way, is primarily the setting is the ruins, the monastery where the creatures live is a 12th century actual place called Santa Maria la Real del
Oh.
in Pelayos de la Presa
In Madrid.
Yeah, dates back to the 12th century. So the movie opens on the ruins. Back in the 12th century, they look exactly the same as they do 900 years later.
Yeah, these aren't ruins. This is just how they used to do interior decor.
They just built things really bad.
Yeah.
So you see a bunch of Templars, Knights Templar with the white thing and the red cross, and they're bringing a lady into their temple or whatever, their monastery, whatever the fuck it is. And they ride her in on their horses. It's a big deal. They string her up on this cross thing. It's like an X shape. They cuff her up. And then the main guy says something about, we will do this thing which we do when we are doing things. And then they run around her and like slash her up with their swords. And then they all come down upon her and drink her blood while she goes, stop, oh no. It's so ridiculous.
I like how they've got these full-size like crusader swords, and what they're doing is they're on horseback and running around her in circles, and then just barely grazing her over and over again. Tiny little cuts, trying to chop her boobs off. It seems like, and just a little swing here, and just another little tick here with these giant chop you fuck off swords.
I like that she has an elastic waistband in the 12th century.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So they kill her, drink her blood. Great. That happens. Now we're suddenly in Lisbon, Portugal. It's current times, current being 1971, and we're at a beachfront pool, and we see this lady, Betty. She's showering before she jumps in the water. She runs into her friend Virginia. It's pretty apparent right away that these two had a little going on in the past, and they're very happy to see each other, and they're catching up. Oh, what do you do? I own a mannequin factory by a cemetery. It's really cheap. Just a lot of that, and then Virginia's boyfriend or whatever he is, Roger, shows up. Roger is amazing. He's very sweaty. Even when he's wearing a jacket, he's sweaty. His name is his actor's name is Cesar Burner.
Oh yeah,
bring in the burner.
Burner Fox.
So he shows up, immediately invites Betty on their camping trip, like just out of nowhere. Hey, we are going camping. You should come with us. Okay, great. It's decided. Virginia is clearly not happy about this because she's jealous or whatever.
Yeah.
Great. So
not good.
They meet her the next morning, on the next day or whatever, on the train. Betty shows up. They get on the train. They're all sitting together, and it's just like ridiculously, like at some point Betty gets up to put her suitcase. I'm struggling. I've landed in your lap, Roger. It's just a lot of that. And Virginia gets upset and runs off to the back of the train. I need to get some fresh air. And then Betty's like, this is wrong. I must go see what is wrong. Mm-hmm. So she goes out there, and they have a little flashback Lesbo scene back when they were like in boarding school together or whatever. And then they've got like the soft filter over the screen, the camera lens and all that. Great. So they had a past, as if that wasn't obvious. Roger shows up right as they're about to start making out, pretty much. They're giving each other the Google eyes. And then he just kind of shows up. And Betty again is, Virginia again is like, I must go away from this, and leaves. And then Virginia goes back to her seat on the train, and then the train boy, whatever you would call him, comes up, tickets, please. And she's like, it is with the whore and the dick eater on the back end of the back train. And then she asks him if there's any place that, can they please stop the train? Because she just wants to get off. Is there anywhere, any towns or anything? And he says no. And then she sees these ruins off in the distance. And so she just jumps the train.
Yeah.
And actually jumps the train, the poor actress.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, we're going to need you. We'll slow the train down, but you're going to have to jump off of an actual moving train, please.
It looks rough. This is an area that's apparently has been abandoned, and, people shouldn't go there because it's a horrible things happen there or whatever. Nobody's been there for years. So she walks across a giant pasture that has clearly been mowed.
Yeah.
on her way to the ruins. She arrives at the ruins and starts scoping the place out. She's looking for a place to camp out. She finds this little room secluded away somewhere, builds a little twig fire that burns for hours. Like, rolls out her sleeping bag and has a cigarette and takes what looks like a giant Rolaids or something. I don't know what that is. And then she puts her pajamas on at some point and
hunkers down with a magazine and a radio.
Yeah. In the meantime, the bells chime, which I didn't even pick up until I watched it like 800 times.
Yeah.
And the Templars, you see the grave site in this courtyard in the ruins, and all the like styrofoam painted gray tombstones start moving, and there's smoke everywhere, and these really ridiculous looking skeletal hands come up out of the thing, and all these guys come out of their graves, and it's all duh, ooh,
so good.
It's so good. They climb out of their graves, and they are amazing. They're wearing like camouflage ponchos.
Yeah, they're basically 1972 practical effects ring wraiths. They are exactly ring wraiths, and they look amazing.
Amazing. Some of them have goatees on their skeletal skulls.
Yes.
It's so cool. So they come out. It's I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's amazing. Some of them hop on horses, and then whenever they ride which also are decked out, by the way.
Yeah, and we never get an explanation for where these horses come from. We see these dudes rising from their little person graves, and then just sometimes they're on horses now.
Yeah, fully fleshed out horses who can only run in slow motion. So they horse up. She takes off. They catch up with her and out in the field somewhere, and they drink her blood. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Meanwhile, Betty and Roger are back at a hotel. I guess it's the hotel that whatever. I don't know what the hotel it is. They're in a hotel, and they're sitting at the table, and the waitress lady comes over, and they ask her, we would like to rent some horses so that we can go to the ruins. And she drops her tray very deliberately, and she's like, "No one can go to Berzano because there are superstitions, but I must not talk about it."
I really mustn't.
So, and meanwhile, the maitre d' guy, who looks exactly like a vampire, overhears and comes over, and he's like, "I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this anyway," and tells them a little bit about the superstition, and then rents them horses. And they get to the ruins. They find Virginia's shit in her little room, and they're looking around, and then out of nowhere, 2 cops just show up.
Yeah, they're just already there.
They just walk out of the shadows. "I have a question." It's like, what the fuck? Where did they come from?
And the one guy with the little flower on his lapel, does a little captain stance on some dilapidated stairs, and oh yeah? Well, that's all very suspicious. We're gonna need you to identify the body. Like, what? You don't think it's weird that they showed up at the crime scene?
So weird. So they go back to town, and they take them to, they take Betty and Roger, and they go see Virginia's remains, but it's so amazing because the medical examiner has an assistant who looks like a half-starved Coffin Joe.
Yes.
Who weighs about 110 pounds, maybe, soaking wet, and he's very strange. He's like playing with a frog in a jar with some forceps. "Hello, little hello. Oh, what? You need me for something?"
Oh, I bet you thought I forgot about you, little frog, but I didn't.
Oh my god. So he goes over to the body with the sheet, and he looks at them, and he's kind of smiling. and he whips the sheet back, and it's an old lady.
And hold up, back it up just a second, because the whole scene is in this room where the lamp on the ceiling is just swinging back and forth the whole time, quick, like it had just been hit by something, and everyone's just okay with it, and it's just going back and forth. So the lighting is all fucked up in there. No one mentions it. It's just that's normal.
The worst lit morgue ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, he whips the sheet back. It's this old lady, and I couldn't tell if he was fucking with them or just an idiot.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think yes, but definitely fucking with them. Like he's at least at like half staff right then.
Semi-chub.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're really gonna like this one.
Oh, is it the wrong one?
Her face is also really fucked up.
So he shows them Virginia, and of course Betty freaks the fuck out, and oh, it's very sad and horrible. And then they leave.
Yeah,
that's just whatever.
Okay,
that's fine. But not before the there's some more talk. The medical examiner does a little talk about blood rituals. I think this might sound crazy, but this looks like the sign of a blood ritual.
Oh, and Roger is super against that. He's like, no, this is the 20th century. There are no satanic blood rituals anymore.
Except you're wrong.
Yeah. Good one, Roger.
Roger shows up with Betty at the mannequin factory. And the mannequin factory has a glass window in the roof, in the ceiling, with like a blinking red light outside that's the only light source in the mannequin factory at night.
Yeah.
Just like, how can we make this the creepiest mannequin factory ever made?
And they even have to explain it. He's like, well, we can't just have a strobing red light going off without saying something about it. That would be weird. So they explain that it's the red light workshop upstairs from the mannequin workshop. Oh, they have to test out the lights.
It's like, great. No one cares. Yeah, that was something else. We get more Templar talk, like more talk about the blood rituals and the superstitions. They have little mini conversations throughout the movie where they basically just go over the same territory. They are Templars. They do blood rituals. Some say they come back. It's like,
I shouldn't be telling you this.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Back at the morgue, Coffin Juan is like molesting a frog in a jar again with the thing like, hello, come here. And and then he goes over to Virginia with a scalpel and peels the sheet back and like looks at her, and then he gets distracted for some reason and puts the sheet back. And I'm like, what the fuck was he gonna do there? What was the plan there?
There was a thing. So they bring in a body and they talk about how this one's really hot, but it's her body, and he already showed them her body, so it's like it's out of sequence. Yeah, it's all fucked up.
That's true. They probably did shoot it out of sequence and just left it.
Yeah,
that's like, great.
I don't care anymore. But her head stitches are great.
Oh, those are nice. That's really good.
They're just like bulging out. It's good.
So he goes back to the frog, and he's playing with the frog. She, of course, rises from the thing, whatever, and she comes towards him, creeps up behind him, starts doing the neck suck. He dies extremely slowly. Immediately knocks the frog in the fishbowl over. The frog jumps out, and then right at the end of the scene, right after he's died, we see his blood on the floor with the frog jumping through it.
Very nice.
Great shot.
Yeah. I like that Amando here is like, all right, I know how to set up a really good looking shot because I've seen other movies do it, especially American and Italian movies. I just have no concept of doing it with any sort of fluidity where it makes sense. But here you go. The messed up frog jumping through blood. Good.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So Roger and Betty are on their tour of town, apparently. They go to this really elaborate-looking building. This is one of those scenes where it's like, huh? They just show up at this fancy place, and then they walk into this ornate room with this ridiculous library, just wall-to-wall books and stained wood and, red leather furniture. And there's quote-unquote professor who is like a 35-year-old guy who needs to eat really bad that has like gray dust in his hair and then like weird fisheye lens glasses.
Yeah.
Like bottleneck glass. He's supposed to look like some learned professor, but it's just ridiculous.
He just looks like a dweeb that you can easily push around.
And then he lays more Templar talk on him, son, it may be hard to believe, but it is very real, or whatever. It's just complete bullshit. But by the way, this shit carries on throughout the movies. This kind of weird people just showing up out of nowhere and giving exposition that doesn't really enlighten anything. And then, guess who shows up again? Fucking cops.
Yeah.
They're like, Professor, we think that the murder has been done by your son, Pedro. So he just shows up, still got the red carnation, blames Pedro, the professor's son, because he's a criminal. It's just like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we're just back to the mannequin factory, which, by the way, has been described as, quote, very successful. It's like this dump.
Oh yeah. Whenever she's talking about the job, she's like, oh yeah, you wouldn't believe how really successful my job is. It's incredible. And she's like bad at her job. She puts like the wrong wig on the mannequin, and her assistant is like, you're doing that wrong. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I love that scene because you cut back to the mannequin factory, and she's the assistant is like fucking around with a mannequin head, like making the eye turn back and forth and toying with the like eyelashes and stuff. It's just like, what are you doing?
It's so good.
Do you ever work during the day? Like, what is going on here?
Nope.
So then we see the front door just creaks open, and we see a lady hand, and then it's, of course, Virginia, who has somehow managed to escape the morgue, walk through town, and just show up at the mannequin factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wearing nothing but boob and crotch bandages.
Well, first she has the bed sheet, which she drops at the door, and then the assistant lady comes over and sees it, and then she's walking through the like gauntlet of mannequins, and then of course there's the gap with Virginia just standing there. And then she slow attacks her, and yeah, she's got very strategically placed bandages, like one set over the boobs and another set over the crotch.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever. She slow chases her back into the like main room where she was dicking with the mannequin head, and they struggle. First she tries to call for help, the assistant, and then they struggle, and she pushes the Virginia corpse or whatever up against the wall and knocks over a candle.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Or an oil lamp or something, and starts the fakest looking fire you've ever seen. And
oh my god, these mannequins are so flammable.
They're very flammable. And then dead Virginia burns to death.
Yeah.
And then we see a really cool shot of a mannequin head melting from the fire.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, there's also one where the mannequin foot is melting, and then it like does a whole like ankle break thing where the foot like flops over to the side. I was like, yeah, that's good stuff.
That's what's funny about this movie is that as cheesy as it is, and the acting's terrible and the dub's awful and all that, but it has some really cool shots in it, so there's actually some quality stuff in it. Besides, it's just it's fun, it's campy fun, but it's also got some decent stuff.
Oh shit, you watched a dubbed version of this?
Yeah, did you watch it in Spanish?
I watched it in Spanish with subtitles.
Oh man. Okay, yeah, see, you watched it on one of the services. I watched it on YouTube.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the one on the one that should pay us, because we would very much like them to sponsor us. It's the Spanish version, and when they say her name Virginia, it's all Virginia. Virginia!
Oh, I'm gonna have to see that.
Yes, and the flashback scene to the Knights Templar, where they slowly chop off her tits, that's in the middle of the movie. It's like they go visit the professor, and then he's like, well, let me tell you, and then flashback to that, and then comes back to him, and then the cops are there.
Oh wow, that is different. I should have. Yeah, there's several different cuts of this movie, which was very common back then, of course. And this is the American cut that I saw, and now I have to go see the movie again.
Yes, I also want to see. Did you see that this was? There was also a cut of this called "Revenge from Planet Ape," where it was a cut trying to make it like a fake spinoff from Planet of the Apes.
Really? Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. The explanation of that is that these were like the ape rulers of the planet from the before time that have now risen from the dead.
Oh, that's quality right there.
Yes. I want to see that cut.
Ooh, God, that sounds good. Well, I'm going to have to hunt that stuff down.
Yes.
So Roger and Betty take a boat over to visit Pedro and his old man gang.
Yes.
Betty stays on the boat because, Roger doesn't want her to, I don't know, be hurt by old men. Yeah. And so he talks to these two ladies that have, like, the peasant lady headscarf thing on or whatever, and they're like, let me go get Pedro for him or whatever. And so the lady goes over, yells for Pedro. He's on what I would describe as a, one of the boats from, like, any of the Cronenberg movies. Like, Cronenberg loves to put really shitty looking fishing boats in his movies, and this movie has one of those.
Yeah.
And Pedro's down in the cargo hold. He's just got done. He's just finished banging some lady. Yeah. And he's like smoking and his shirt's off, and he's just like, ugh. And then he walks out because he's being called and puts his hands on his sides, and he's like, "You called for me. There's someone here to see you."
Yeah,
I'll be right up.
He's doing like the Pedro Pan pose.
Then he goes over to this water bowl, basin, and like so ridiculously like splashes it on his face and body, like he's just washing up.
Yeah.
And he puts on the tightest shirt I've ever seen in my life. And climbs out and walks over. His pants are like bell-bottom high waters, and he's wearing boots. And then that shirt, which is tucked in and super fucking tight. And then at one point he lifts his arm up, and he has the biggest sweat stain I've ever seen in my life. He just put the shirt on.
It's so gross. I must have come into my own armpit.
It's just disgusting. He has this huge mustache. He's just horrible.
Yeah. Horrible man. With a horrible girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, God. So he talks to Roger for a little bit, and, of course, he ropes Pedro into coming along to go back to the place and see if they can figure anything out. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're gonna spend the night there. And this is one of the things that I didn't understand, and why I watched it again is the cops are like, "Oh yeah, your son is a piece of shit smuggler," and they shame the professor into like collapsing into a heap of emotional mess. And then their plan is, "Oh, well, what if we go get this Pedro fellow, who is an obvious criminal, and spend the night in some ruins with him for some reason?"
I love where Pedro's like, "I mean, we do smuggling, but we do not do killing. This is bad," or whatever the fuck he says. Yeah. It's like, you forgot to mention you do raping too, which is apparently okay. So in my notes I put R and B and P and his fuck lady go to Berzano.
Nice.
So we're now at Berzano ruins, and fuck lady and Roger make out. And then this is because Pedro has gone out. Betty goes with him, and of course his fuck lady's like, "Oh, he doesn't. It's not your type." Whatever.
Yeah, I see. So, I see. I've selected your keys from the bowl. We will now swing this way.
That's right. So Betty goes out with Pedro. They get to the cemetery area. I guess they're around there. I don't know. Anyways, he rapes her. That's really all that matters at this point.
Yeah.
In the cut that I mean, it sounds like maybe it's the same on yours, but in the cut that I see, he's kind of, they kind of get to the spot. He's being kind of Pedro-y, and then the next shot is her like putting her torn shirt back on.
Oh no.
Oh, you see more in that one, right?
Oh yeah, no, she like she's like, oh, I always feel at the last minute like I regret leading a man on, and I'd really just prefer to not do this right now. And he's like, oh yeah, fuck you, and he pushes her down and rips her clothes off, and spends a really long time sucking on her nipples on screen.
Oh my god! Wow,
yeah,
there is a lot cut out of there. Wow,
yeah, he's
that's
like,
amazing.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to suck all of the sweat off of your tits, please. and then not very graphically rapes, but it pulls away before there's any sort of like bottom nudity or anything. But then yeah, a little while later, she's like putting her clothes back on, and they're just like hanging out in the post rape area.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's really, really disturbing. Not the worst rape scene I've seen, but it's definitely a contender for a list of some kind.
Yeah, cheers, Gaspar Noé.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he tries to give her a cigarette. She's not taking it. She's upset, I can't imagine why. Apparently she's upset for some reason. It's ridiculous. Roger has to go out now and figure out what's going on. And but before this, that's right, we hear the bells chime, even though they don't sound like bells very much. And then the Templars come up, attack Pedro, kill Pedro. Betty gets the hell out of there. Roger comes up, he goes to check on Betty, and he comes across the scene where Pedro's getting smirched by the fucking Templars. And then he just starts shooting his gun at them, which does nothing. Yeah.
It just makes a dumb sound, and then... yes, exactly. And you don't see anything happen. It's like a gun was not actually shot.
It's like, what did you bring, a hand of those, like, poppers that you throw? Like, what? They have zero effect. Well, they do have an effect. They grab the Templars' attention, who immediately come towards him now.
It is possible that they were actually blanks, because Pedro was like, no, don't use that gun. Here, use this gun that I give you. And I've got this switchblade, which will never come back into the story.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I do love the scene where Roger's interacting with the fuck lady, and she reaches into his pocket to take the gun out, and she's like, perhaps I should have this. And she, like, does this little move where she, like, flips it, and she can't, like, she almost drops it, and, like, it's so... It's like, well, perhaps you shouldn't take that.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Your gun handling skills are very bad. So Roger has now drawn the attention of the Templars, who are chasing after him. But, of course, he leads them all the way back to the hiding room, because he's an idiot. And then he's banging on the door, and Betty and the fuck lady get into a fight because Betty wants to open the door and fuck lady doesn't. And so they fight for, I believe it was about 97 minutes of screen time. It just went on and on.
It's also part of the fight is that fuck lady is jealous because she's like, oh, that bitch just got raped by Pedro. I hate her.
Jesus Christ. So Betty breaks away long enough to open the door, and Roger slumps into the door all bloody, and, right before he dies, he says something about, they can't see you, so don't make a sound. Or what? Fucking idiot. So, yeah, that happens. And then, they get in, they eat fuck lady. Betty sneaks out, tries to remain silent, but really basically just spends a lot of time going, like everything she bumps into, she makes a sound. So I'm like, okay, lady. And then she's running out of the place, and she trips on nothing, and now she's got a gimpy leg, so she can't. And she's wearing like these white patent leather plastic boots or whatever, which obviously aren't helping either. Eventually, she somehow manages to get on one of the Templar horses and rides away, and then they give slow chase, and there's this really slow chase scene. They catch up with her, and then, like, in reality, one of the guys playing a Templar pulls her, like, off of her horse onto the ground, and she very roughly falls to the ground off the horse. It was not a stunt.
Yeah, no, that actor ate it.
It was in slow-mo, but she landed right on her butt. I bet that hurt bad.
Yeah, I would not be happy. Although we did see that she has plenty of padding, so maybe
that's true. That's
helped.
true.
Yeah,
that's a good point. So she kind of like rounds the corner to where she's within sight of the railroad tracks, and then we see that the train is just magically crossing by at that exact moment, and the train boy sees her, and then the old man conductor guy is like, "We can't stop," and then he pulls the brake anyway, and the train stops. She falls right before getting to the train. First of all, she rolls down a hill that isn't there.
Yes.
Then she falls, and the train boy has to go out and get her because she's crippled. She just can't move another inch.
Couldn't possibly.
Oh, God. And of course the Templars are riding up very slowly behind. She gets on the train and hides right there in like the coal car.
Yeah.
Right behind the main engine. They kill the boy, they kill the old man, but the train magically starts moving forward. They also get inside the cabin and kill everybody in the cabin, including a baby. And one of them is wearing like mittens. Like,
well, it gets cold in Madrid.
They're like camo plastic Templar mittens. I don't know. That was weird.
Yeah.
And
in the version you saw, did you see it where like all of like where they're killing the mother and the mother's blood is just cascading down onto the child?
No.
Oh my God, you watched the wrong version, sir.
Oh God, this is amazing. I watched the wrong version 5 times.
There's this whole scene where this mother has this like little kid, and she's holding the little kid to her, and the Templars come up and they start chomping on her while the kid is still there, and so you don't see them chomping on the mom, you just see the shape of them, and then just blood starts pouring all over the little kid's face.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's awesome.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Wow, I have to watch that version now.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. Well, the train pulls into a station. By the way, all the night shots are day for night. I mean, they just crank the contrast up really high, so anything that's not directly lit from the light outside is black. So it's like silhouettes and a blue sky with clouds anytime it's a night scene. So I guess it somehow is day. I don't know how long the train had been traveling, but it arrives at the station, and very slowly, and like one of the train guys sees that something's wrong and climbs up and stops the train, and he's got blood on his hand from the brake, and then he sees Betty covered in like coal dust, half out of her mind, and what are you doing there, miss? And he helps her off, and then the group of passengers just, like, that's fine. And then they just go to board the train. And it's great. Like, all the actors there's like 4 of them. They all climb the stairs on the train, and then they all wait until they're all by the door at the same time. And then the guy opens the door, and then they go in and you hear screaming.
Yes.
And then they cut to Betty, and she loses her shit, and the movie's over.
Yeah. Finn!
It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, man. I do love this movie. It makes no sense, but the very House of a Thousand Corpses style, just inserting stylized things is great.
It's great. It's so 70s. The next 2 movies are equally 70s, and even more disjointed. I mean, the third one is great just because so much of it takes place on a boat, on a galleon.
Galleon.
And the premise is, this is amazing, that there's a bunch of models, and one of the models is trying to find her roommate, and then the lady that runs the modeling agency or whatever tells her that she and one of the other models is on a secret job. Well, eventually it comes out that the secret job is they're on a boat in the middle of the fucking ocean. A power boat. And it's a publicity stunt for some businessman, and he put them on a boat in shipping lanes so that eventually a ship will find them, and this will give publicity to his company.
Yeah.
That's his plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they run into? A fucking ghost galleon.
Oh, yeah. In the shipping lanes?
Yeah. Full of Templars.
Oh, good.
Which apparently exist in a different dimension. That's what they learn from the scientists that they just happen to show up to see in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
It's like Institute of blah, 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 and there's all these, ticker tape, with the paper feeding through, and the guy with the horn-rimmed glasses, and he's like, "And I'm a man of science, but I must tell you, this is a crazy story. I hope that you are sitting down," or whatever. It's like... Oh, wow. These movies are incredible.
So this guy really, really was like, all right, I read The Lord of the Rings and I loved everything about ghost people in it. Also, I watched Night of the Living Dead, love it, and I watched all the old Hammer horrors. Let's make movies.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, the second one, it's the 500-year anniversary of the date when they slaughtered the Templars. Even though it was in the 12th century, but it's the 500 year. So it's okay, so whatever.
Yeah.
So they're having
500 ghost years.
Yeah. So they're having a celebration in some town that's right by the ruins, which there wasn't any town by the ruins in the first movie. And of course, then all hell breaks loose. But there's a hunchback character. There's a Pedro replacement. There's a guy who's hired to be a fireworks expert who's American. That's his job, is to do the fireworks. It makes no sense. It's so good.
Oh my god. This movie's nuts. I don't know who this Amando guy is, Amando de Ossorio. I've never heard of him before, but this looks awesome. I'm gonna have to watch the other ones. He also has other horror movies: The Night of the Sorcerers, Demon Witch Child, The Sea Serpent looks awesome, and his first movie was Fangs of the Living Dead.
Oh my god, I don't even know about that one. Some folks have done some fan versions of there's a whole current, relatively current Living Dead movie that some fans made, which, I mean, they actually had I say a budget, I just mean they had some money.
Yeah.
And they actually made a movie. I mean, this movie has definitely reached cult classic. It has you can buy the luxurious Blu-ray box set. It's on Shudder, as you mentioned. I mean, it's one of those movies, if you dig around long enough in the horror world, apparently 50 years worth, you'll come across it like I did.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. There's a bunch of it's infiltrated different things where the revenants or whatever you want to call them show up in other things.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and I had no idea.
They really do look great. Obviously they look fake as hell, but it doesn't really matter. They have a really cool look to them with the hooded robes and the the big flowing robes and the swords, and they're riding these horses, and they're skeletal, but then they have weird braided beardlets and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and they're not just the bleached white skeleton. They have a little fruit leather gray skin left on them with the beards, and there's the fake Party City grade skeleton hand that comes through the crack in the door, and you're like, oh, of course it's not going to move, and then it actually does the thing where it grasps a little, and you're like, oh fuck yeah, you did it, you upgraded that one. Yes.
It's so great. It's amazing. Yeah, those are they're pretty classic movie bad guys. You see a little bit more exposition about their background in the second movie. That the reason they're blind is because, and you see it in the second movie, but one of the guys explains in the first movie, in this one, that they get strung up at some point by the townsfolk who are sick of their shit, and crows come and pluck their eyeballs out. So
yeah, and all of this to serve they can hear her heartbeat. He wanted a scene where they were able to locate her by her heartbeat, and so he was like, all right, well, we need to come up with a reason for them to be blind.
Apparently they're a group of Templar knights who broke away from Christ and became, Satan warriors, and had some sort of blood ritual and through this blood ritual they're able to come back whenever they feel like it. Apparently, it's not really explained very well.
Anytime some ladies is around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, if you don't go around, they'll just stay asleep.
If the nips be poppin', the Templars is hoppin'.
I also like that they have the whole thing is like, oh yes, this is the Egyptian cross, not like the regular Christian cross, and people like just have never heard of an Ankh before. They're just like, no, that looks weird. What is that cross about?
Is that a loop for your necklace? I don't understand.
Yeah, we're definitely not way close to Egypt here in Spain.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it's also great.
Yes. Yeah, I really do want to see the version where it's trying to do a Planet of the Apes thing, because that just sounds like it had to be terrible. But yeah, there's also a bunch of, like, some of the violence in here is pretty brutal. That scene where Roger gets his arm pulled off and you, like, see down into his arm with the bone and the blood squirting, that was awesome. Whenever they feast on Pedro's homegirl, she's just, like, writhing and screaming the whole time, and it takes a very long time. This movie is, at times, really, really daunting and good, and then at other times just absurdly low quality.
Yeah, the acting is abysmal. It's almost like they were directed to be bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just comically bad. Then it's really over the top by the second movie. Like, the characters are even more ridiculous. He tries to inject a little political comedy, which is so bad. It just falls on its ass, but it's so ham-fisted that it doesn't even matter. It's like, whatever.
It's like, I just saw Young Frankenstein, and now I will make this second movie.
Oh boy. Oh, Amando, you weird pornographer.
So, John, if you had to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 5 loathsome things, how would you?
I gave this movie a 3.75.
Holy shit.
I liked it a lot, and that counted for a lot. As far as it just being like I don't know. I was going to say it hasn't aged well, but I mean, it probably was pretty damn cheesy even in 1971. But it's also a European horror film, and European horror films, particularly of that era, really, they kind of like enjoy that overly kind of campy theatricality. They do it on purpose, and I mean, for what it is, it really is a minor classic, and I'm really glad I saw it because I really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it's like I'd love to rate it higher, but it's just not that good of a movie to me. It's to me, I liked it. I have a soft spot for it, and I have to admit, it does bear repeated viewings because it's entertaining. It doesn't bog you down with like stupid anything. It doesn't last in any one idea for too long, linger. So, it flows relatively well, and it's just one preposterous scene after another. So, yeah, that's what I did. How about you?
All right. So I think maybe this will be the one where we differed the most. I gave it a 2.4 out of 5.
Oh, interesting.
Where it's good, it's really good. They have some good practical effects. Like I mentioned, Virginia's head stitches, very, Frankensteinian. Like there's lots of inspired things in here, but at no point does it ever feel like it deserves to be doing what it's doing. It's really just like held together by the director saying, okay, and then I wanted to shoot this scene. And so like by the end of it, there are images that stuck with me, but like it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Like it's objectively a bad movie. It's just a bad movie with some cool stuff.
Yeah.
In it. So it's just a hair underneath the middle ground of 2.5. So yeah, 2.4 out of 5 loathsome things for me. Let's see. How does math work on that? That's a 6 point something loathsome things.
Listeners, if you could please just write us and tell us what those two numbers add up to.
Yeah.
I totally agree with I agree with your review. I guess it appealed to me on some sort of weird level that filled in some of the gaps that you were describing that are very much present. I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said about it, and I think the reason why I pushed it over the 3 limit was just because I enjoyed it. Like where you had said that there was some cool stuff, but it really just kind of injected into a really bad movie, and that something's just missing. Like for me, that something was there, but it is some cool stuff injected in a terrible movie. There's no question about it.
Oh yeah, and I don't disagree with yours either. It's just it didn't hit for me on all of those things.
Yeah.
It's like I consider it kind of like Beyond the Door 3, but not with the over the top enjoyability that one had. And maybe it's just because they both have trains. I don't know.
So for those keeping count, that's the second train horror movie we've seen, and probably the best train horror movie that we've seen so far.
Highest quality train horror that we've seen.
That's a genre now.
Yeah. Also, one where it doesn't make sense where the train goes or comes from, because that dude, I guess it's just like a big circle track that goes around and around and around, because they just keep showing up in that field, and ladies be either going away or coming towards or dying in the middle.
It's remarkable.
Like, no, son, remember what I told you. No matter what we do, we never stop for ladies in that field.
I was just thinking that there's at least another train horror, because there's the one from the 80s where it's like the picture on the cover is like a conductor with like a Groucho Marx mask or something and holding a knife or some shit. Oh man, now I gotta look.
Train horror.
How? Oh, well, Train to Busan. Yeah, geez.
Oh, yeah. That's a great train horror movie.
You're never going to beat that one. Oh, of course, Midnight Meat Train.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's I'm thinking about, isn't there one where it's like a group of vampires are on a train, like Horror Express or something like that?
Yeah, I guess that could be, yeah.
Oh, maybe 2023 is the year that we only watch train horror movies.
There's that Hellraiser movie that has parts on a train, but it's not really a train horror.
And then isn't there one that's like Transylvania Wife 7000 or something like that?
That happens to be on a train or something?
Yeah, and it's a really bad comedy.
Well, I'm sure there is. I just can't think of what it is.
Throw Mama from the Train. Yeah, there's all of them. They're all there.
Oh my god.
I wanted to mention that at the beginning when they're at the swimming pool, fucking what's her name? Betty? What's the main lady's name?
Betty.
Yeah, Betty. She's talking to Virginia and Roger, and then she was like, "Okay, well, bye," and then she just jumps in the pool and swims away. Like, she wants to get away from the situation, but only just gets in the pool, which they are at the edge of.
That's right. Oh, it's called Night Terror Train. That's the one. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
Yes. There's also a train movie with the old Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing duo in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Tubi has one called Night Train to Terror.
Oh, fuck. I bet that's terrible.
That looks so bad.
Is it one of their originals? They have the worst original movies. Like,
no, this is from 1985.
Oh, okay.
With a
Also
Cthulhu-looking monster?
Nice! Ooh, I'll have to look into that.
Oh, and some sort of zombie creature with red light eyes.
Yes! Let's go.
Oh my god, train movies.
Train horror movies. Alright, we found our niche.
God, we're stupid. Did you see any good horror stuff? I don't think I've seen any decent horror stuff that I can remember.
God, I watched Wednesday.
Oh yeah, we started it, but we didn't get very far
because it's so boring, right?
Well, we just turned it off for some reason. It wasn't because of the show. I don't remember why. You didn't like it?
I really enjoyed Jenna Ortega in it. She does a great Wednesday Addams. That said, I don't care about the Addams family at all. And it's like a mystery, but then the mystery is really uninteresting. So I watched in and out of it. Melanie watched the whole thing. She enjoyed it. So for non-horror fans, maybe it's way better than for horror fans. But for me, it was just kind of like, I don't care. Yeah. And but she did a great job in it.
Oh, I'd like to, by the way, apologize to Jenna Ortega, who's definitely listening. Because when we talked about X, the entire time I called her Jenny.
Oh, rude.
Yeah, and then I was like, I think we started watching Wednesday with my daughter, and her name came on the screen, and I was like, oh, shit.
I called her by a name that definitely no one ever calls her.
Thank God no one listens to this show. Yeah. No, I didn't watch. I don't think I watched any horror. If I did, I don't even fucking remember. That's how bad. Well, I already mentioned seeing Smile, so yeah.
Yeah, Smile. Yeah. Whenever it talks, it's like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just watched a bunch of Scandinavian noir mystery shows or whatever, cop shows.
Oh, nice.
I love those shows.
The Texas Killing Fields. Did you watch that?
Oh, I did. I did watch that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fuck Texas entirely. I hate it.
That's remind me to never go there.
Yeah. Yeah. Never go there, and certainly never go down that stretch of 45 that you have to take to get from Houston to the beach.
Never go down 45 and go right past NASA Road 1 exit, where you'll see the Calder Road exit, and then you cut in there and take a right and go back around and then go down left on Calder Road, and then you go a little ways down, and then just to your right is the Killing Fields. Don't go there. Yeah,
don't go there. With where the backdrop is for the movie Ty West's X.
Yes, and definitely, and for no reason should you ever go to the League City police station, the one that they rip so bad in that show, because you have a court appearance for a ticket you got wearing cargo pants with homegrown weed that you bought at a party in filling each of the 2 cargo pockets while tripping on acid. You should never do that.
Probably try to avoid that. Never drive past the field where people dump their bodies and think, I bet you could grow really good crawfish in there.
Oh my god. Ooh. Yeah, it's a great documentary, but man, it's a horrible story, to be sure.
Yeah.
There's no winners in that story. I mean, even the guy that, if anybody turned anything positive out of that, it would have been that guy, Tim, I forget his last name.
Tim Allen.
Tim Allen or Miller? Was it Miller? Tim Allen. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Yeah. The guy, like his daughter was one of the victims, and then he started Texas Equisearch, which is now, pretty well known. But man, that dude's
a boss.
He's a boss, but that guy's tormented, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that Moffat employee is tormented.
So anyways, yeah, that was a great documentary. It's a limited series, so I think it's only like 3 or 4 episodes or something.
There's also, did we talk about the documentary for Woodstock 99?
No, I mean, maybe not on the show, maybe, but I think we might have talked about it before in the past.
Oh, okay.
The one on the same service?
Yeah, the same service, yeah. Yeah, it's that documentary can also go fuck itself, because in a documentary that details the horrific rapes that happened during the Limp Bizkit performance and shit,
Yeah.
It focuses mostly on, it was a big financial loss and equipment was destroyed.
Really?
Yes.
There's another on a certain box office oriented cable channel that has a documentary about it. That one's really good, and it does not shy away from the horrible things that happen there.
Nice. I didn't know there was... I love it when they do competing documentaries. All documentaries should have a competing documentary.
Like the Fire Island one?
Yes, yeah, that was great, like, getting the two different views, yeah. Because the Netflix one is like, I mean, yes, there was a child being raped in that van, but really what we're concerned about is that they tore down the parts of the stage, and they burnt things. It's not good, you guys.
People lost money.
Yeah, investors lost money. It was... we were ashamed of ourselves.
It's fucking... oh, God. It's like pouring gasoline on the fire.
Yes. So, yeah, watch that stuff, too.
Yeah.
And go watch horror movies, support, independent horror filmmakers. Don't pirate Skinamarink, wait for it to come out actually, and then spend money on it.
Yeah. Give them your money. They can use it. Most of those guys are not very rich.
No. But, other than that, have a good time. Happy December. Get your Christmas shopping done.
Get your shopping done. Take care of Grandma. You know what I'm saying? And, in the meantime, I'm sorry you all have to die.
Is that a throwback? Is that a throwback to the stand-up routine from House of a Thousand Corpses?
As soon as I said take care of Grandma, I was like, take care of Grandma?
Yeah, it's good. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Stop recording.